Welcome. This webinar offers guidance on National Board fee reimbursement for district leaders and National Board certified teachers through the Texas Teacher Incentive Allotment. In the slide deck provided, we've linked resources from both TEA and the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. Our objectives for this session are to review the National Board components of the Teacher Incentive Allotment, understand the process for requesting National Board fee reimbursement, and use sample scenarios to determine next steps for NBCTs and their employing districts. House Bill 3 established the Teacher Incentive Allotment, or TIA, in 2019. Under TIA, highly effective teachers can earn one of three designations: recognized, exemplary, or master. Teacher designations are displayed on their SBEC virtual teaching certificate and are valid statewide. Districts may develop local designation systems to identify their most highly effective teachers. TEA approves systems and processes designations submitted by approved districts each year. National Board Certification offers Texas teachers an independent pathway to earning an automatic recognized designation. Once a teacher has earned a designation, the designation can potentially generate annual allotment funding for the employing school system. Each level of designation starts with a base amount. Recognized designations, the base amount is $3K, exemplary it is $6K, and for master it is $12K. The allotment funding increases depending on the campus's rural status and socioeconomic need, with higher allotment funding generated at rural or high-needs campuses. So what is National Board Certification? National Board Certification is a rigorous process that takes most candidates between 2 and 3 years. It is based on research and practitioner expertise of what accomplished educators should know and be able to do. Candidates complete 4 components, which are each peer-reviewed and scored. 3 components are portfolio-based, and 1 is a computer-based content area assessment. Board certification is available for 16 different subject areas and 4 developmental levels. National Board standards are pedagogical in nature. Texas teachers teach their regular TEKS-based curriculum throughout the certification process. There are 2 ways that TIA benefits NBCTs. First, they can earn an automatic recognized designation, and if eligible, generate an annual allotment. The second benefit is fee reimbursement. National Board certification can cost up to $1,900. Districts may now request reimbursement of eligible fees paid for certification for NBCTs who certified or renewed after the passage of House Bill 3 in 2019. National Board teachers are listed in the NBCT directory, which is linked in this slide. School administrators can search the directory for NBCTs in their districts. However, please note that information is self-reported. TEA will not know the actual placement of NBCTs until February through April, when we compare the directory information with October PEIMS and winter class roster. We encourage districts to conduct large-scale outreach for potential NBCTs, as names and placements may have changed since they initially certified. There are nearly 200 current NBCT candidates. In 2020, 327 NBCTs earned a recognized designation and collectively generated $1.2 million for their districts. Over 20 districts across the state currently offer stipends to NBCTs, and TIA funding can add to their compensation. National Board fee reimbursement benefits NBCTs and their district. These teachers have heavily invested in their process, and this is a way for districts and teachers to recapture costs paid. The funding is provided through FSP as a separate TIA line item. It's independent of any allotment funding generated by teacher designations. There is no statute of limitations to apply for reimbursement of eligible fees, and it does not require a local designation system or TIA spending plan. As mentioned in the previous slide, National Board certification can take anywhere from 1 to 5 years. Here is a summary of the process with costs included for each step. The first step for candidates is the $75 registration fee. At this point, they'll select from 25 certification areas, and although optional, many candidates choose to join a support cohort and complete pre-candidacy courses. When they're ready, they can purchase and complete the 4 components at $475 each. These components can be completed in any order. The first component is a computer-based assessment for content knowledge. The remaining 3 components, differentiation and instruction, teaching practice and learning environment, and effective reflective practitioner, are all portfolio-based components. If a component is not passed the first time, there are 2 opportunities to retake the components for a cost of $475 each. Once the scores are released, NBCT candidates find out if they've achieved certification. Once certified, they can pay $495 every 5 years to maintain their certification. There are three main ways that TIA can benefit NBCTs and their districts. The first is through fee reimbursement. The only restrictions for fee reimbursement eligibility is that the NBCT certified or renewed in 2019 or later. To earn a recognized designation, the NBCT must have an active Texas teaching certificate, an active National Board certificate, and their National Board directory listing must reflect Texas residency and/or employment. Once the designation is earned, NBCTs who work a creditable year of service as a teacher, which we define as a 087 roll ID and PEIMS, will generate an annual allotment. Designations for NBCTs will expire in the July following the expiration of the National Board Certificate. So let's do a quick check. We have a sample scenario of Seth, an NBCT in Yellowstone ISD. Seth certified in 2010 and renewed in 2020. He is a counselor at Yellowstone Middle School and has an active Texas teaching certificate. For question 1, are Seth's fees eligible for reimbursement? Yes, however, just the renewal fees. He renewed in 2020, that's after the passage of House Bill 3, so those fees would be eligible. Will Seth earn an automatic recognized designation? Yes, because his Texas teaching certificate is still active. However, Seth will not generate an allotment for this school year. He is not employed as a teacher. Once he has a designation, Seth can return to teaching at any time. In any year that he has coded an 087 in winter class roster, his designation will generate an allotment. This timeline is for the 2021 school year and shows the general cadence for TIA designations, allotment funding, and fee reimbursement. In January, any new NBCTs have had their scores and are aware that they achieve certification. In late February, the winter class roster submission will determine the NBCT's campus placement and eligibility for allotment funding. In March and April, TEA will verify their placement and eligibility, and TEA will process reimbursement requests for fees. In April, the designations are placed for eligible NBCTs, and allotments are calculated for those who are coded 087 in winter class roster. At this point in late April, TEA will send districts notification of all allotment funds and fee reimbursement. In August, by August 31st, that's the deadline for districts to spend the scheduled allotment funds. This does not include fees. In September, the year 1 allotment funding will arrive, and it will be 2 separate line items on the district's summary of finance report, one for allotment and one for fees. After that, continued funding will flow based on projections from the previous school year, with a settle up each September. In this slide, we have a similar timeline for the 2020-2021 school year, but just the lens of fee reimbursement. So the application will post in January. At this time, TEA will attempt district outreach to NBCTs and their districts for fee reimbursement. And in March, the application will be due on March 31st, along with any supplemental documentation. In April, districts are notified of the exact amount of fee reimbursement, and then that funding will arrive in September 2021. It's an annual cycle. It's not issued on a rolling basis. So if a district does not meet the March 31st deadline, a new reimbursement cycle will begin the following January. We'll now take a look at the mechanics of fee reimbursement, so the application, supporting documentation, and logistics of submitting the application. There are some provisions for fee reimbursement. Because TIA is funded through the Foundation Schools program, it flows funding directly to districts, so NBCTs may not request reimbursement directly from TEA. Districts may request reimbursement through TIA if the NBCT certified or renewed in 2019 or later, if the fees were paid directly by the NBCT out of pocket, the district must first reimburse the NBCT prior to submitting the application. And finally, if the fees were paid by a grant or outside entity, they are not eligible for reimbursement. There are fee reimbursement limitations. For each NBCT, TEA will track that the maximums have not been exceeded. $1,900 for initial certification, $1,250 for renewal, and $495 for maintenance of certification. Registration and retake fees are not eligible for reimbursement through TIA. So let's take a look at the reimbursement process and the required documentation. So on the left is a scenario where the NBCT paid fees out of pocket. So the first step was to petition their district for fee reimbursement and send the district a PDF of their financial statement. TIA will post language and suggested email templates for NBCTs to contact their district. The next step is the district verifies which fees are eligible for reimbursement. And finally, the district will reimburse the NBCT prior to submitting their reimbursement application and attached documentation. On the right, if the district was a third-party payer, the district would first request a report of fees paid on behalf of NBCTs who certified or renewed in 2019 or later. And we've included a link to the web form for that. Next, the district would verify which fees are eligible for reimbursement and submit the reimbursement application with their attached financial documents. So the key difference here is that if the district is requesting reimbursement on behalf of an NBCT, they must first reimburse the National Board Certified Teacher before requesting reimbursement through TIA. So before the NBCT is ready to reach out to their district and petition them for reimbursement, they'll need to get a financial statement. If it was paid by another party or check, that would be listed on the financial statement. So this is a PDF record from their NBPTS account. It includes their name, their candidate ID, and their year of certification, as well as itemized charges for each component, the date, the method of payment, and the amount paid. The reimbursement application is a downloadable Microsoft Excel file that will then be submitted through Qualtrics when it's complete. The instructions are embedded, and we require information that identifies the district and any NBCTs that they are requesting reimbursement for. The reimbursement details include the amount paid, method of payment, whether it's certification, renewal, or maintenance of certification, the year of the certification or renewal, and the date the NBCT was reimbursed if applicable. Along with the completed application, districts are required to complete and submit assurances with the superintendent's signature. And this ensures statutory compliance and that districts have attested that all documentation submitted is accurate. In addition to the assurances and completed application, districts must submit supporting documentation, which is either the NBCT's financial statements or their third-party payer report. So the district will zip all files and submit via Qualtrics link by March 31st. So once TEA receives the application, we will verify, along with records from the National Board, the NBCT identity and year of certification, the fees paid, method of payment, and compliance with statute. We will not verify the NBCT's current position or employer or their TIA designation status. If you're a Texas NBCT, here are your next steps. You'll first want to check eligibility criteria for fee reimbursement. If you certified in 2019 or later or renewed in 2019 or later, your fees are eligible. You'll also want to check and see if you're eligible to earn a designation, and if so, if you will generate an allotment for this school year. You can visit www.tiatexas.org for package resources, which includes a template email for your district, an NBCT and TIA flyer, and the fee reimbursement application. You can then print or save a PDF of your financial records, determine your total eligible fees, and contact your district administration. For districts, the next step would be to consult with your CFO and Human Resources to plan for receipt of TIA funds. We encourage all districts in Texas to outreach to any possible NBCTs or candidates they employ. For districts that paid as a third party or are seeking reimbursement of fees on behalf of an NBCT, they'll want to collect documentation and verify which fees are eligible. And we've included our email address, tia@tea.texas.org, in case there are questions. For districts seeking reimbursement on behalf of an NBCT, you'll then reimburse them for eligible fees and complete and submit the reimbursement application. So we'll go through a few practice scenarios. And our first scenario is Rose Herman, an NBCT who's certified in 2019. And she is employed by Harrison ISD as a special ed teacher. Harrison ISD is a cohort G for TEA and does not currently track its NBCT, so there's no local designation system in Harrison ISD. Rose paid $19.75 out of pocket. She paid a $75 registration fee and $4.75 for 3 of the components. Component 2 was covered by a grant. She also had to retake one of her components and paid a fee of $4.75 for retake. So now we'll look at which of Rose's fees are eligible and ineligible for reimbursement when Harrison ISD submits their application. So note that each payment does not have a date. TEA will only verify the final year of certification. We won't verify the year or date of fees paid, just the final year of certification. So her registration fee of $75 Rose paid out of pocket. However, TIA does not reimburse registration fees, so that would not be eligible. Component 1 was paid for by Rose, that would be eligible. Component 2 was paid by a grant, which would not be eligible. TIA does not refund or reimburse fees that are paid by entities other than the NBCT or the district. Component 3 and 4 were both paid for by Rose, and then the retake fee of $475 is not eligible under TIA. So the total that Harrison ISD would be able to request for Rose would be all of the eligible fees, which add up to $1,425. So what are Rose's next steps? Her first step is to contact Harrison ISD using the email templates from our TIA website. And in that email, she can share the following resources. We have a national board flyer for district leaders, the application for reimbursement, which is due to TEA by March 31st, her financial statement from NBPTS, and the link to this pre-recorded reimbursement webinar. She can also use a link that's embedded in the email template to invite her district lead to attend a live Q&A session. And that session's for NBCTs, NBCT candidates, and district administrators. So those two sessions will be held on January 21st and February 22nd from 3 to 5 p.m. So taking a look at Rose's financial statement, it includes her name, her NB candidate ID, her year of certification, and then all of the itemized charges that she paid for out of pocket. So the third-party payment that was covered through a grant is not included in this financial statement. So Rose's district, Harrison ISD, needs to take some next steps. The first will be to determine the point of contact for TIA. In many cases, for districts that don't have a local designation system, this is a contact in human resources or finance. They'll need to preview the TIA National Board resources and ensure they understand all of the mechanics and timelines. If they are not in finance or HR, they'll need to connect with those departments. They can review Rose's NBCT documentation, reimburse for her eligible fees, and then complete and submit the fee reimbursement application. They'll also need to ensure that if Rose is teaching, she's coded as a 087 teacher in class roster winter submission so that she generates her automatic allotment. They'll need to review TIA spending timelines and requirements and develop a spending plan for the allotment funds. Here is a snippet of Harrison ISD's hypothetical reimbursement application. So it includes the district name and the NBCT information. It includes Rose's current employment status and the reimbursement information. So it tells the fees paid, that they were initial certification fees, the year of her certification, and then the date that she was reimbursed. In the final section of this webinar, we'll take a moment to answer some of the most commonly asked questions we see from district leaders and national board teachers. Where can we get help while completing the reimbursement application? So TEA will be hosting 2 repeat Q&A sessions for National Board Certified Teachers and District Administrators on January 21st and February 22nd, both from 3 to 5 p.m. There is a registration link embedded into the PowerPoint for this webinar, as well as posted on the TIA website under National Board. What if our district employs a designated teacher or National Board Certified teacher before its local designation system is approved? A local designation system is not required to receive TIA funding. Any district in Texas that employs a designated teacher will receive an allotment report in April, and they will be required to spend any allotment funds by August 31st of that year. Districts who are applying with Cohort D or later will then need to implement a tentative spending plan prior to the approval of their local designation system. So if that's the case, we encourage districts to seek stakeholder input, particularly from their National Board Certified teachers, as they craft their tentative spending plan. Our next question, are districts required to submit fee reimbursement requests? Why can't NBCTs request reimbursement directly? While districts aren't required to request reimbursement through TIA, it is an opportunity to recoup costs paid for the intensive National Board certification process. Per statute, TIA is funded through the Foundation Schools program, which flows the allotments directly to districts. How will TEA verify that the information in the application is accurate? So we will verify the submitted documentation with records that we get from NBPTS, and we'll track reimbursement requests for each NBCT to make sure that the maximums aren't exceeded and that there's no dual requests. So districts will submit assurances that include a superintendent's signature with their reimbursement application. So they must attest that all information is accurate and in compliance with our statute. How can our district become a third-party payer? So with the passage of TIA and the reimbursement of National Board fee opportunity, many districts are choosing to cover some or all of National Board certification costs for teachers in their district. So these fees are eligible for reimbursement through TIA once the certification is achieved. Any district interested in registering as a third-party payer can review the third-party payer guide that we've linked in here for more information. Must the NBCT have a TIA designation or be employed as a teacher to be eligible for fee reimbursement? TEA will not verify the NBCT's designation status or current assignment. So what if the NBCT is no longer employed by a district or was employed by another district when they certified? And any district can request reimbursement of eligible fees provided they meet these two requirements or one of these two requirements. Either they reimburse the teacher prior to requesting reimbursement or they paid fees as a third-party payer. And what about retake and registration costs? So once again, the maximums are $1,900 for initial certification, $1,250 for renewal, and $495 for maintenance of certification. Registration and retake fees are not eligible for reimbursement. So thank you for viewing this webinar. If you have any questions, please visit our website, tiatexas.org, or email our team at tia@tea.texas.gov. Thank you.